Hi, I'm Katrina, and this is Boldly Challenging Ableism. I'm your host, Katrina Simon. I'm the Community Program Specialist at the Institute on Community Integration at the University of Minnesota. This program explores various topics that impact people with disabilities in our community. Each episode addresses a different aspect of our society within the context of ableism. Ableism is the prejudice that stems from the belief or belief system that assumes someone is less capable or less worthy because of a real or perceived difference in ability or function. On this program, we hope to answer some questions you may have been afraid to ask, or maybe some you didn't even know you had. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy the conversation. All right. Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us on Boldly Challenging Ableism today. My guest is Adam Ruff, who was at the Disability Pride Festival in July, and we did a promo there, so you might remember that. Adam is from Advocating Change Together. Welcome, Adam. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Are you having a good Monday so far? It's Monday today for us.
Yes, it is Monday. Yeah, I'm having a good Monday. My voice might be a little hoarse. Over the weekend, I went to a soccer game and did a fair bit of yelling.
Oh, that sounds good. Did it go your
yeah,
way?
it sure did. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
happy for you.
Thank you.
It's cold out today though, so I mean, it's kind of fitting that it's like a little bit of a quieter, that your voice is a little bit quieter because it's just like cold and gray, I feel. It's
Yeah,
a very Monday-y Monday.
absolutely.
All right, so we have known each other for a while now, but could you introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, my name is Adam Ruff. I live in Minneapolis. I'm in the Longfellow neighborhood. I graduated from Augsburg University in 2018 with a social work degree. Um, I am a representative on the Minneapolis Advisory Committee on People with Disabilities and a board member of L'Arche Twin Cities, and I am also the self-advocacy program administrator at Advocating Change Together. So I've been here for over 4 years now, and I am currently the longest tenured member of ACT.
Wow, that is so exciting.
It is.
Can you share with us a little bit about how your affiliation with the disability community and sort of how you got started in working in this community?
Yeah. So I guess my initial kind of association with the community was through my mom. She was a special ed teacher for my entire life. She worked in the transition age, so I spend a lot of time with her at school, going to her graduations, and I was just exposed to a lot of people with disabilities throughout my childhood into my early adulthood, and I started. My first job was as a PCA for a non-speaking person with autism, and that was really kind of just like the eye opener. It was the first time being in a house where everybody in the house had a disability, and so I feel like that was a very radicalizing thing that propelled me into the work that I'm doing. But I think having been introduced to the world of disability through my mom in the kind of like the school setting, uh, I didn't have the I felt like there was like a lot of distance between me and the disability community. More so, I felt more aligned as like a provider. Um, and so it wasn't until just a couple years ago now that um, I was formally diagnosed with ADHD and autism. So I'm sure we'll get into that, but that's kind of the spoiler, perhaps.
I don't think it's a spoiler. I think it's like a sweetener. I think it's a sweetener. Um, can you share with us a little bit about, because you said you were recently diagnosed with, or relatively recently diagnosed with autism and ADHD?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so can you share with us a little bit about like what made you, like sort of how that went for you and like what made you pursue a diagnosis and that whole thing, as much as you're
Yeah.
comfortable?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, so I guess in like a very ADHD fashion, I don't know the exact date that I was diagnosed,
Oh,
but
no, just like your general age, like after high
yes.
school. Okay.
Yeah, so after high school, it was post college. It was actually due in large part to the leadership program I was doing at ICI that helped me kind of understand neurodivergence.
Mhm,
I had been very familiar with ADHD and autism just through the work that I was doing, but it didn't really ever. I never really thought of myself in that way, or like was able to like conceptualize myself as uh, somebody within the community.
mhm,
I think going back to what I originally said, uh, starting my career, so to speak, supporting people with disabilities, I always kind of had like a professional relationship with folks. I had this kind of like closeness to everybody that I worked with in something that in a way that I could never articulate or understand. Um, some DSPs might resonate with this, but like a lot of times one of the first questions they ask you is like, what's your reason for like why are you doing the work that you're doing?
yeah,
Uh,
remember your why.
yes, your why, and a lot of people were answers were about, they had a sibling with a disability, or um, maybe they had a mom with a, a special ed teacher, and I never really felt like it just was such a it felt like a question I couldn't answer. I didn't know why, and so I went through my whole like young adult life not really understanding this connection to the community, but being so drawn to it, and I channeled that through like professional work, uh,
Mhm,
and that's why I went to school to be a social worker, is to further my ability supporting the disability community. um, there was a while there where I didn't think I was going to go down the route of like the disability field, but it just kind of veered me into the direction of continuing on the path of being a disability, like supporting the disability community. Um, and I really just the whole time was kind of thinking that was because I uh, not to like I guess I thought it was just predetermined that this is what I was supposed to be doing, without knowing that the reason I was so drawn to this work is because it was a community that I like wanted to be a part of.
mhm,
You know,
cool.
I think back of my first person that I ever worked with, and the closeness I got with my, I guess, client. I hate saying that word. Was Now that I realize it was like my first experience having like a disabled friend and being able to be in a disabled space and just like do whatever we wanted to do. Uh,
Mhm,
so I think that was like my first unmasked moment, and uh, from there, um, kind of using like the diagnosis helped me in a lot of ways, but it also complicated everything because I was pretty well into my career path, and having to more or less like start back over in like my identity of who I am, and why I'm drawn to the work that I'm doing. Is it because it just made me question a lot of things about myself, and there was a lot of work that I did to make it break down kind of those internalized ableism that existed within me. And I'm still doing a lot of that work right now. That was kind of a very non-tangential like answer for you, but
no,
that's
I liked it. It was very authentic. Do you find that it's, like, difficult living with a disability that isn't always obvious to other people? Like, do you
yeah,
find that
absolutely.
challenging?
Yes, yeah, I think it's extremely challenging. I think having a non-apparent disability, for me, I feel like there's this kind of like dichotomy of uh, being able to like code switch into like a non-disabled kind of version of yourself. And so there's that privilege that comes with it where, when I go into a room, nobody's like looking at me and they don't assume things of me because they might just think that, I'm just another kind of a white guy with glasses in Minnesota. And within that, like, I think I was able to, uh, it feels it's very isolating to be in those positions where I almost feel like at times I have to like over exaggerate who I am to get the message across that uh, I'm neurodivergent. Uh, I'm doing like I think it's this in I guess I found myself through my work for my coworkers and like the people I work with. Uh, a lot of their friends stemmed from being in special education, and I was I don't know. I was never a part of special ed, and so I think that I kind of fell into the cracks of, um, didn't quite fit into the like the non-disabled world, but then also didn't necessarily fit into the disabled world. So it goes several ways where um, it can be used as like to my advantage, but I really hate using it to my advantage
Mm-hmm.
um, because I um, I think it's whenever you have like privilege, it comes with just a great deal of guilt.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I probably don't have a good answer for, but to sum it all up, yes, it's extremely difficult. And that's part of the reason that I wanted to like, you know, be on a podcast like this to be able to talk about my experience and hopefully, a few or however many people resonate with this. That's all that matters to me.
Can you talk just a little bit about what you mean when you say you identify as neurodivergent, in case people in the audience
Yeah,
familiar
yeah.
with what that means?
Yeah, so it's neurodivergence has kind of become like a buzzword. But the way that I think about it is, neurodivergent is I have ADHD and autism. So those are, I guess, it's just the way that my brain works. I'm a little, as some people would say, like neurospicy. Um, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that one, but uh, it's generally for time's sake, just for me, a combination of autism and ADHD that falls under the um, ever growing umbrella of neurodivergence.
Cool. And neurodivergence is like somebody who identifies with their brain working differently.
Correct,
For
correct. That's a
okay,
great way of putting it.
for like a functional definition for people.
Yes, yes.
All right. And for you, is that what kinds of things does that look like? Does it mean that you need things written down first to understand them? Does it mean that you have trouble remembering things? What does it look like to be neurodivergent?
Oh, that's a great question. I think a good example is I have I need to have a Google Calendar,
Okay.
and then I also need to have a physical calendar so that on times when I have my Google Calendar, but then because it's on my phone, that gives me access to so many different apps.
Okay. Yep.
And so I need to have uh, kind of like, the technology is really helpful, but then I need the physical, like just something that when I'm going to the fridge, I look, um, and because I forget stuff very easily.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I guess another example that I just dealt with last week was um, the medication I take that helps, me focus and uh, eases some of those ADHD kind of symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I ran out of it, and
Oh no.
I ran out, and that's, it's one of those controlled
Yep.
substances that
Yep.
pharmacies all of a sudden just don't have.
Yeah, and it's
And
really hard to
so,
get.
yes, and it's I always tell my partner that it's the worst thing for somebody like me.
One similar thing is like sometimes like so cerebral palsy can make your muscles do all types of weird things. And one of the weird things it can make them do is like not stop working. So not only do they not work correctly, but they don't relax so other people can like work with them. It's
Mhm.
kind of like that. It reminds me of that. Like the worst people to have to go to extra work to get a med are the people that would have trouble remembering it to get the med because of the condition the med is supposed to treat.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, exactly. I you would think that I could learn, but just the way that my brain works doesn't allow me to think in advance. So it goes down to, my multiple calendars. But then I also be monitoring how many pills I have.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the several aspects that makes it challenging, to kind of be as productive as I'd like to be.
Okay, also, but I just want to pick on you a little bit because I do not think you like it does not that's not the way I think of it. I don't think you could learn. I think it'd be like people telling me like I could learn to walk. Like obviously I can't because I've been in a wheelchair for a long time now and I could never. So no, I wish that you would. I mean, I understand how it's frustrating for you and how you'd like to be able to know how to do it, but I wouldn't think that.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think that maybe that's an example of some of that internalized ableism that kind of
Yeah,
keeps me
that
feeling like
you're applying to
it's a
yourself.
loop.
Can you tell the audience a little bit about what advocating change together is?
Yeah. So advocating change together is a self-advocacy leadership organization. Um, we've been around since 1979. We were founded by self-advocates in Minneapolis who were frustrated with the way that society was set up, and it was right around the time of
Yeah,
deinstitutionalization.
yeah.
So they got together, and they wanted to improve the lives, they not only their lives but everybody else with disabilities. So um, stemming from that, we've been around for, you know quite some time, and the work that we do, I like to say, is we do educational leadership mixed with kind of like community inclusion, and it kind of that manifests in smaller settings with weekly educational disability justice classes, and larger scale things like our conference, disability power or disability pride festival, olmsted academy. So we have larger things that we do, but then on a smaller scale we also provide just kind of like community spaces for people, and there's a lot of work that we do, and in my 4 years of being here, I think I've only scratched the surface of all of the work that we have done at ACT, because we've been around for so long,
Mhm.
and we've kind of existed throughout the evolution of technology. So I'm learning more and more about the work that we do each day.
And aren't you guys the oldest self-advocacy institution in the Twin Cities, at least, and maybe in the state of Minnesota?
Yeah, I think there might be one organization that I actually previously worked at that started in 1978, Southside Services. They're a provider, but
Okay, yeah,
um,
no, I have heard of Southside Services, but I
yeah.
think okay, and I don't know if I'm not positive if I'm correct, but I think like from the very beginning, Act's thing was like they're gonna be the disability advocacy organization that really puts the voice of people with disabilities first.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes, and
and so their thing has always been giving the voice to the people that have disabilities and really embodying that nothing about us without us, right?
absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
and we reflect that in our current team. I don't know the percentage, but it's well over 50% of us identify as having disabilities, and our board is over 75% people with disabilities. So we like to practice what we preach, and kind of model the way that our organization runs with how we want the society to look as well.
Yeah, I love it. So what drove you to want to work at ACT in the first place?
The main thing was touching on what I said earlier, kind of having that what I would describe as kind of like a rigid relationship with the disability community, kind of being in I felt that like being a DSP was like so ethics driven, where
Right.
I felt like I was like hanging out with people, but that's not allowed. And I think what was really attractive to me about ACT, Advocating Change Together ACT, was the first thing I did was the Disability Power Day. And I think just finding out about a place that was incorporating, aspects of what it looks like to like disability empowerment, was something that uh, was new to me. It was like new programming,
Mm.
and it just felt like where I wanted to be, as a social work uh, person. I was working, one on one. We call that micro work, and I wanted to
Mhm.
get into the meso macro, so group
Yeah,
and state
my
level work.
sister's a macro.
Gotcha.
She's
Yeah.
a mac well,
So
I don't she's not a licensed social worker, but if she were, she would be a
yeah,
macro.
yeah, yeah. And so that was what really um, was exciting to me. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really know 100% what I was getting myself into at ACT. Um, I was just interested in uh, reaching a new audience, at a larger level in kind of a more person-centered approach.
Yeah, and had you had much exposure to, like, even the concept of disability empowerment before?
Um, Not formally, no. I think it was just, I guess, outside of like my own kind of thoughts of how society should be. I didn't have exposure to any of like the movements that had happened, and um, outside of like the ADA. I of course knew that happened. But there was just so much about like the disability rights movement and self-advocacy movement that I had no idea about until I got to ACT.
Yeah, um, d and, so something I think about a lot that I don't necessarily tell people or ask people because I think it's kinda weird, but I'm probably gonna ask you. Um, does it so I had, like, a lot of images around disability empowerment when I was growing up because I was born in 1987, so the meeting on the steps where the people were crawling up the steps
Hmm.
happened when I was, like, 3, so my mom would always talk about it, and she would always show me pictures of, like, activism and stuff, but if you live with a hidden disability um, or something less obvious, like, you wouldn't have seen yourself in those places.
Yeah,
So, I was just wondering about how that would be different. Like
that's a great question.
yeah.
Um, the I think not having that representation definitely played into how long it took me to kind of
Mhm,
identify with everything.
mhm,
Where I think because there wasn't, representation in like a visible way for myself, um, I kind of had to, wait until society was kind of ready to be able to speak about uh, my community in like a strength based way, I guess. I feel like I kind of
Well,
my diagnosis came about at the time that like a lot of folks were kind of coming into new understandings of like neurodivergence.
yeah. So
So
I feel like that's come a long way very recently, like very, very recently, like even within like the last decade. And so
mhm,
that's kind of why I was curious, like, because it would have been very different from what I was used to, and like
yeah,
the imagery around the disability empowerment that I had grown up with. All right, well, we are pretty much out of time. I'm sorry I missed a lot of your questions. I apologize,
that's okay.
but thank you so much for coming on, and we look forward to the next Disability Pride Festival.
Boldly Challenging Ableism is a co-production of AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and the Institute on Community Integration at the University of Minnesota. For more information, please visit ici.umn.edu.